However, most people who become entrepreneurs really should keep their day job. They need someone else to count on to make sure that the paycheck shows up on Friday. They are not responsible enough, prepared enough. They haven't done their homework. They haven't done the market analysis. And those people have no business ever going into business and need to leave it to someone else. However, there's a small group who ought to definitely go out on their own, start their own businesses, start hiring people, create new products and services, deliver high-quality service to consumers, and make a great living doing it. But those people are in the minorities, primarily based on preparation.
Well, excellent. And that's a lot of what we're going to discuss also in this program is as we're moving forward, you're going to talk about a lot of the realities of running your own business, and then people can decide, am I such a person? Am I cut out for this? So that's going to be a great service in and of itself, is saving people the hell, if you will, if they are not the right person, and then giving them the strategies they need to be successful if they are the right person. So let's step back for a second, Larry, and discuss your own career journey, both as an employee and an entrepreneur, because I want to give our listeners a better context for how you developed many of your ideas on the topic we'll be discussing. What are some of the day jobs or traditional employment jobs, we might call them, that you held early in your life?
Well, I grew up pretty much dirt poor, maybe not dirt poor, but at least dusty in Muskogee, Oklahoma. I watched my mom and daddy go to work every single day for many, many years. My dad worked for Sears for 47 years. My mom worked in a little retail store next door to the Sears store in Muskogee, Oklahoma. So I was used to the fact that every single day you get up, you get dressed, and you go to work. And then you come home and you still work because there's a lot to do around the place. But I was used to seeing people work for a living at a job. So that was just part of the way I was raised, and I observed that's how it was done. Now, I did see people starting their own businesses. I saw lots of little stores and so forth pop up throughout Muskogee, Oklahoma over the years, and I thought that's interesting, but what I also noticed is a lot of them went out of business. And so I realized that there was one thing I could bring to the marketplace that most people at my age as a young teenager were not bringing to the marketplace, and that was a willingness to do whatever it takes. In other words, I was willing to work, no matter how hard I had to work. I was used to seeing people work. I knew that when you worked hard, you were rewarded for your hard work. And it was a very simple concept. Work hard, get paid. So I understood that. I asked my dad one time why he had been with Sears for 47 years. That was 12,000 days. I watched him go to work most of those days. And he said, Larry, it was really very, very simple. When he went to work for Sears, he made them a deal. As long as you show up with the money, I'll show up with the work. And for 47 years, every other Friday, Sears was there with the money, which meant to my dad he had to show up with the work. It was a deal that he made. A deal is a deal to him. It wasn't based on motivation. It wasn't based on passion. It was based on commitment and the fact that he had given his word. So I had that as my role model, and I knew that when I went to work in the marketplace, that's how I wanted to do it too. When I said I would go to work for you, I worked for you. It's amazing how many people go to work for someone else with the mistaken belief that that company exists to take care of them. I was raised with the belief that my job was to go to work, do what I was hired to do so they could make a lot of money and be profitable so they could pay me, which was my main motivation, getting paid.
Great. So, I mean, showing up, working hard, those are some of the lessons that you learned in terms of becoming a well-valued employee. Are there any other lessons that you learned about how to become a well-valued employee, and what were some of the advantages and disadvantages of being a traditional employee?
Well, I'll tell you, one of the very first jobs I took is trimming trees for a mobile home park in Muskogee, Oklahoma. It was a little small mobile home park that my grandfather lived in. He said, Larry, I'll get you a job doing this for the guy who owns the park, and it's $1.50 a tree. And I went out there and looked, and I had this old pickup. I was 16 years old. I drove this old pickup out there, and I had a pair of hand trimmers and a saw.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.